This is Keith Kalfas with Influencer You, and if you want to build your social media presence online, or you want to get better at communicating your message to the world, then one important thing is knowing how to videotape yourself, whether in a vlog or have somebody else videotape you or anything. Just getting good at videotaping, and all you need is your cell phone, because if you understand this little trick called the rule of thirds, that I'm going to teach you right now, the rule of thirds, and we're going to talk a little bit about headroom, and how this is what these like professional videographer courses, you can take a small little chunk of what they would teach if you were to buy a couple $100 program, which is totally worth it to learn this stuff, because you can get an amazing looking video with your cell phone if you just know the little tips and tricks. Now the rule of thirds goes like this. There's a grid and here's a quadrant. Here's your frame. That's what you're seeing inside of landscape mode. Okay. And in the frame, if you have a person, you never want to put the person's face or the head or yourself directly in the center with all of this headroom. So face right here, all that gap, and your body's here. Put me in the center right now. Put my face directly in the center. Okay, the only time you want to put somebody's face directly in the center, or your own face, is if you're trying to get something across that you really mean what you're saying, and you don't want them to focus on anything else except for you, and you want to do that for that effect. Otherwise, it's horrible. So it has its uses, right? Anything does. And that's a whole nother, tons of angles, but this is the most basic, okay? You want to put the person's face on these quadrants here. You want to put the face here on this X, or I'm sorry, this would be way over here, or here on this axis, right? The right or the left. And then when there's headroom, person's head, look at this. Make it so there's just this much headroom, so you just see a little bit of stuff behind me, and my head isn't touching the top, but almost. Okay, now put me off to the left hand quadrant so you can see everything that's going on here, and my head isn't, yeah, right there, see? But to me it looks like you're pointing the camera. Why are you pointing the camera over there? That's what it looks like to me, but to the camera, I'm framed up properly. Now there's one problem with exposure. If you're indoors and I can see there's shade on me, but there's all this brightness here. If you don't have, I think it's gamma correction, what it'll do is if you're using a professional camera that's not tuned or in auto mode, it'll be blown out. So that means you'll be able to see that, and I'll go completely black, like a shadow. So to fix that, frame it on the other side, put my head on this side, there's a little bit more shadow. Now I might have a little bit more light on my face, depending on the quality of the camera. So now put my head in the bottom quadrant. Okay, the only reason you would want to do anything like that is if you wanted to make me look like small and insignificant, and point out something in the sky behind me, like maybe there's a plane flying overhead or something crazy. Now here's the next thing you want to do. With the rule of thirds, there's something called a two-shot. So you'd have me in the left quadrant, upper left quadrant, and if you'd had another person talking, they'd be right here in the upper right-hand quadrant, and we would share even space between the edge of the frame and even space between us. So we're talking facing each other, but slightly facing a 45-degree angle. That's right for the conversation. It's called a two-shot. If there's a third person in the shot, but they're facing the other way, somewhere else, doing something that's totally non-related, and it distracts what these two are talking about, tighten in the shot so only two people can be seen. You wouldn't have a three-shot and have the third person in the shot, because it would distract what's going on. You want a two-shot, so you do what's called a medium close-up to just catch these people, and the closer you come for effect. Now I want you to take the rule of thirds thing we're talking about and make it so my eyeball is in the upper left-hand quadrant. Bring me real close. All right, right there. See that? See where my eyeball's in the upper left-hand quadrant? Now this is called an extreme close-up. You show this to show an effect of emotion, like the twitching in the eyes. Maybe there's a tear dripping down, right? Maybe you want to show a hand or dirt on fingers to see he's working hard outside or something. Right now, go away, go all the way back. Now, if you were to go all the way back 20 feet, I'm not asking you to do that right now. So my whole body was in the quadrant, that would be called a wide angle or an establishing shot. An establishing shot would be maybe the first shot that you show entering a scene, so you give your audience a quick reference point so they can see the environment of which that you're in. If you look at movies, you look at commercials, you look at anything that's professionally filmed, you'll see that, oh, okay, they're in the jungle, or they're in New York City, New York. And then it'll go right down to the guy walking on the sidewalk. If you wanted to do a video, it could be anything, selling art, painting. You would show a city with the art gallery and then zoom in and show the whole art gallery just for a quick second, and then you'd get into the video so the person has a frame of reference. Because if you don't ever do a wide establishing, see, I'm getting into all this stuff here. If you don't ever do a wide establishing shot and you just get right to the stuff, that's fine too, right? You're just adding a little bit more dynamic range to what you're filming. It depends on how much time you have, right? Or how much room you have to shoot. But I'm saying one thing, now put me in the center. Now it's just my face, a little bit closer. If I was like this talking the whole video, this is called the talking head shot, right? This shot is very boring, and the only way that you can keep this shot interesting is if you're, well, there's a lot of ways. One is you have to, if you're a great storyteller and you're taking there somewhere in the emotions and in the mind, great storytellers are always great on camera. Or is if you're incredibly attractive, right? Or something about you is incredibly magnetic to look at, or something like that. I'm just coming up with stuff because I'm just saying it's a talking head the whole time. I'm not trying to include or exclude anybody, right? Because if you're too close, you could say everything. Now go far away, as if you're doing what's called a cut shot. Far, talking, you'd have two cameras on you. Now come close, here. Talking. So you have a couple cameras, or you'd cut in and out from close to far, you know, every 30 to 60 seconds or whatever fits the pacing of what you're filming. And what that does is it just gives their mind a little something so they don't get burned out and go vegetable while they're watching, right? Dude, I could get into so much stuff about filming, but rule of thirds is you want to keep them in those quadrants, and you can pull them far left, take it all the way to my ear. Just to my ear. You see that? You could do that too if you were trying to show something I was talking about, right? But now pay attention to this stuff whenever you're watching TV, if you're watching YouTube, if you're watching anything professionally filmed. I want you to start to pay attention to the rule of thirds, and then once you see it, you go, oh, you'll start to see it all the time, and then you'll start to make sure, oh, wait, is this framed up properly before I press record? But now, there is a new thing on like YouTube and stuff, the vloggers. They will stay in the center, and they'll use a really wide angle camera lens. Is there a wide angle on that you can press the button? Far, medium, wide? And what it does is, even though they're the talking head, you can see everything in the environment around them. And that's in more of an artistic type of shot, and that was horrible 5, 6, 7 years ago. If you use that type of shot, it was horrible. Now it's cool looking. Here's why. A wide angle lens is best now versus in 5, 10, 15 years ago, because I believe that people are so ADD that when you use a wide angle lens that can see more of you, almost like a GoPro camera, when you use a wide angle lens, people feel like they can breathe while they're watching the video, and they can see more of the environment, and because people can process more, and they want to process more, so they always want to, because if it's real tight all the time, they feel like claustrophobic, and that's not a fun video to watch. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's it for this video. Hit the subscribe button, hit the thumbs up button, check the comments below, leave me a comment below, check the links in the description below, and if you want to know what I use for filming aside from YouTube, use Kajabi. There's a link in the description below so you can sell your information products and build your website online. And then I have a course coming out called the Social Media Explosion course, and I'll put a link in the description below for that. And let me know in the comments if you're interested in it, because it's coming out soon, and it will teach you how to do all this stuff times 10 and how to monetize your message online. All right, later.